Ready?
Yeah, totally.
Fucking do it.
Yep.
Oh, and last thing, if you have anything to say like to the audience, look at that camera. Like if you're
Hey,
yeah.
welcome into the show. We're going to get rolling.
Welcome back, everyone. This is Adventures Less Travel podcast. I'm checking in again in Golden, Colorado, and today I'm sitting here with Tyler Kempney, who is part of the USA ice climbing team.
Yep.
So thanks for coming on today, man.
Yeah, no worries.
So ice climbing is a particularly unique sport, and it's a little bit different than other climbing related or mountaineering related sports. So let's just kind of jump right into it. So like how do you define your sport? Because I think climbing in general is more of a niche.
Yeah.
You know? So like what's kind of your definition of it?
Yeah, I mean, we're a niche in a niche. Yeah, so it's like ice climbing's this, man, I guess I lived in upstate New York. So when I was there, any of you may know Syracuse is the snowiest city in the U.S., depending on how you display the demographics. But I grew up a few hours or 2 hours north of Syracuse, and so it's really cold up there. So, and in college I got into climbing. I was like, man, I want to do this like all the time. How do I do this in the winter? And then I was like, oh, people ice climb in the winter. And I remember as a kid, I saw some videos in like some retail shops, and they were like people climbing ice, and I was like, that person shouldn't be there. Why are they there? And I was like, I'm gonna be that guy one day. One day I want to try ice climbing, you know?
Yeah.
And so learned how to climb in college, wanted to really tick that off. And then right after I graduated college, I was actually getting married that next December.
Oh, wow.
And I was like, man, I hear everybody talking about ice climbing. They're like, yeah, once I started ice climbing, my wife was like, no, you can't ice climb
You better take out a
anymore.
big life insurance policy.
Yeah. So I was like, oh man, like if I need to do this, I need to do this now.
Right.
And
so when you say, sorry, I don't mean to cut you off.
You're good.
So when you say climbing in college,
Yep.
like, are you talking about like top rope, like rock climbing?
Yeah.
Or,
Yep.
okay.
So in college, my first introduction to climbing was there was a little like auxiliary gym with a rock wall in it.
Yeah.
And I started going in there, and it was mostly bouldering. Like they had top rope ability, but like I really like the puzzles and the difficulty of bouldering.
Yeah, sure.
Bouldering is just like the most condensed version of climbing where the hardest moves are performed, really.
Right.
And people were using bouldering as training for rope climbing because they could climb so much harder for 3 moves.
Right.
And then you learn how to apply it to the bigger stage.
Sure.
So that's what I did in college. My first actual climbing outside was in the Red River Gorge in Kentucky.
Okay.
During a spring break, our school just was like, yo, does anybody want to go climbing? And so I essentially started rock climbing in the best place in America.
Yeah.
And it was pretty cool. But anyways, that was amazing. But I was mostly a gym rat in college. That's all we had in that part of New York.
Yeah.
And right after I graduated, I became director of student programs of this climbing gym in Clifton Park, New York. So the Edge, Half Moon, shout out to those guys. But started doing that, and then right when I got into climbing, I got exposed to everything in the outdoors. I got exposed to bouldering outside, trad climbing outside, ice, all at the same time. Usually people take it one step at a time. I was kind of like thrown into all of it.
Drink from the fire hose.
Yeah, straight from the fire hose. Oh man, I couldn't get enough of it either.
Yeah.
And so started ice climbing like on, I think, December 19th. That was my first time ice climbing, and I got married December 23rd.
When she was worried about you showing up to the altar, she was talking about you being dead. You know,
it was crazy.
That's hilarious.
But yeah, I mean, like I was like, I got to shoot. If I'm ever gonna ice climb, like now's the time. Like I got to get this done.
Yeah.
All summer I ate nothing. I had this rule. I was like, I will not spend money on food. Peanut butter and banana sandwiches.
Yeah.
For every meal, unless somebody takes me out to dinner.
Yeah.
Or if we do home cooked meals or something. So it was like I saved all the money that I like budgeted for food and bought everything like December 5th. Went out ice climbing my first time December 19th. And yeah, I just took from it. It was just like, this is everything. So that was in 2013. So,
oh, wow. Okay.
Yeah,
So we're almost at 10 years.
Yeah, almost at 10 years. It's crazy to think that.
That is crazy.
Yeah.
So then when and now that sense of urgency that you had, was that because most people are in their prime are young, or was it like what specifically, when you say like, oh, like the time is now, like what was kind of that underlying like reason?
Oh yeah. So the underlying reason, really, like the real reason why I wanted to get into this was everyone I talked to, all my coaches, all my mentors, everyone that I knew in climbing, they were like, man, I wanted to start in this, but like it's ice climbing is inherently dangerous. It's arguably the most dangerous form of climbing in that sense. Just because you have to learn how to read mediums. At face value, I would say it's the most dangerous.
Yeah.
To me right now, I wouldn't say that. I'd say there are plenty of other forms of climbing that are more dangerous.
Okay.
Just from ice climbing is a craft, and you learn this craft. You learn how to read the ice. You learn how to. It's like I don't know if you've interviewed people for whitewater or anything, but when you do, you'll learn that people are reading the water just by shades of color and making these last minute decisions. And with ice, it's not so much last minute decisions as much as it is
you're like immersed in like your surroundings and everything, and taking in like aspects of the earth that are kind of going to work to your advantage as opposed to like making a snap decision, I guess.
Yeah, exactly. So like you get that term moving meditation. Not sure if you guys have talked about that much, but it's this idea that you've put yourself in this position, and to move through it, you have to know what's to come, but you can't forget what's behind you, because if you can't keep moving forward, you have to be able to move backwards. It's like this idea of just being in the moment, being present, seeing, reading the ice in front of you, being like, oh, like the impressions are good, or you start seeing a crack that's over here and you're like, oh, is that crack actually separating this whole wall in front of me? Okay. And then you start reading, you're like, is there water running behind this thing? Is is the sun baking it? Like, is it blue? Blue ice is the strongest ice, arguably. And so it's like, what are all of these things? So what's the temperature? If it was hot yesterday and super cold at night and then warm again today, it's brittle. It's going to just shatter. So like there are all of these things in ice climbing that make it a craft.
Right.
And it's like, it's beautiful when everything comes together. So really the biggest thing, the sense of urgency was, I'm getting married on the 23rd of December. And I was like, if I don't learn how to ice climb and have all my gear before, where am I going to find it in the budget to obtain this gear? Because it is expensive. It's a high entry fee.
Yeah.
And I was like, man, once I get married, there's so many more responsible things I'm gonna have to spend money on. And so I was like, if I'm gonna do
squeeze
this,
it in.
I gotta last minute squeeze it in. And so I did it. And it was like in that like 5 or 6 days before getting married, I think I went ice climbing like 3 times.
Oh wow.
Yeah. So it was pretty awesome.
And when you when you say like I went X number of times, is that like an expedition, or is it just something you can do in a weekend?
Yeah, it's something you can do in a weekend.
Okay, cool.
Yeah. So working at the climbing gym, being director of student programs, I didn't really work in the daytime when most people are working. I didn't go in until 2 p.m.
Yeah.
So living at this point in time, I'm in the Albany area near the Adirondacks. It's an hour away.
Right.
I would wake up at like 5, drive up to the Adirondacks, climb in the morning, get done, and back to the car by noon, and then like literally just punch it right back to work and go straight to work, just like completely having a full day of climbing.
Just totally gassed.
Yeah, it was awesome. Falling asleep at work. I'm here 2 to 10, man. I'm falling asleep. But yeah, I did that as much as possible.
That's awesome, man.
Yeah.
Now when so there's a lot of different, I guess, kinds of mountains that you can climb. Is it like, do you look like what's like an ideal challenge? Like, is a glacier harder than a mountain, or do people not really do glaciers? Or,
Yeah.
like, I'm just trying to think where ice
No,
is
this
that
is
you could climb.
yeah.
you know?
I mean, this is a great question. I mean, we get this all the time. So, ice climbing is this thing of like, if water's trickling and it's getting freezing temperatures overnight, and it's been that way for a couple days, an ice climb might form. So, some of my most favorite ice climbs were not in places that you would expect. One amazing, one way to put it, like Rocky Mountain National Park. You hear about it everywhere. Like ice climbing up there, like some of the hardest ascents in the country were going down. It was like a training ground for a lot of people that made it big down in Patagonia, made it big in other parts of the world. It's a great training ground. It's a great training ground because the ice climbing is not great. You have to learn how to be scrappy. You have to learn how to read. The ice is so insecure and like not really attached to the wall. It's like, it's an interesting place to learn. It's not, and like the ice might only be in for 2 days in Rocky.
Yeah.
So
it's like finding the window, I guess.
Finding
right?
that window.
Yeah.
So like there is total joy in that, right? And like
Yeah.
you can get all difficulty levels in that. You could just climb like a ice couloir, which is basically something you could ski.
Oh wow.
Right.
Okay.
Like, so some major lines have been skied. That are ice climbs. Those are considered like the scale is water ice or alpine ice.
Okay.
In Colorado's high peaks, like it's typically called alpine ice.
Okay.
Just because the sun is baking, it's not attached. It's its own thing. But like you'll get couloirs, like Dreamweaver is a popular one up Mount Meeker. Dreamweaver is like WI2 or WI3, and like M3. M means mixed. It means you're using your tools or hands on rock.
Okay.
In those sections where the ice doesn't go. So it's like you might be climbing a snowfield for 600 feet, and then you climb like
then you have
rock.
to switch to like, I guess it would be like more like totally different techniques, right?
Yep, exactly. And so that's the beauty of Rocky.
Sure.
Now you go to somewhere where I was from, like the Adirondacks, you might be climbing like essentially right off the highway, not off the highway, but Chapel Pond area is some of the best ice climbing in the Adirondacks.
Sure.
You literally park the car on the side of the road, look out the window, and you're like, it's in. We're going to go get it.
Yeah.
And it's really cool. It's like, you could just drive up and be like, nah, it's not that good. Let's drive further. Let's go to the next flow. We'll see what's in.
Yeah.
But, so you park up, pull up, start climbing, and it's the Adirondacks in the Northeast. It's like these beautiful mountains that are pretty much trees the whole way up and over on top.
Yeah.
Whereas the Rocky Mountains are just barren at the top. They're pointed. There's no real basins to hold water. Whereas in the Adirondacks, it's trees and sod and like, a cliff face will be on the side, but all the trees and everything, they held the moisture and it's just trickling down slowly.
Sure. Yeah.
So there's consistent ice. Now it's also usually in the shade, so the ice is bonded to the wall. So in the Adirondacks, I mean, it's pretty famous for its thin ice. Like at Poco Moonshine is a really good area to go ice climbing. It's like I've climbed full pitches that the ice is only like this thick. So it's like, it's just what it is, right? Yeah. But here in Colorado, like it's so rare to find those thin pitches because the ice might be that thin, but it's not attached to the wall.
Right.
So where like the difficulty is so weird. It's all condition. Everything's conditional. And like glaciers, I still haven't gotten to climb any glaciers. Some of my friends like Marcus Garcia, he's been helping with the Valdez, Alaska Ice Park up there. And he always takes people on these amazing little outings, and they'll go climb these glaciers where it's like they'll put the ice screws in, climb overhanging like blue ice, beautiful features. I still haven't been able to do that. Like I'm hoping to go to Valdez soon. Like I'll have another story. We'll get a follow up.
Yeah.
But
are glaciers considered like obviously the beauty of it and like it's a very different experience from what you're describing, but like from a technical standpoint, is it like as challenging as like some of these other places?
Yeah, and this arises a great question. So I should get into the water ice scale. I got a little excited, got out of it. Water ice 1 is pretty much flat walking.
Okay.
It's just you have to wear crampons on your feet. They're just basically like knives on the bottom of your boots, right? This is a very strange crampon. We can get into this, but
Yeah, yeah, sure.
it does have spikes on the bottom. You can walk on ice with it. If you step on the back, you see there's no crampon on the back. You might find yourself on your butt. But
in general, they're like the
full
claws
length
on the bottom, right?
Exactly.
Gotcha. Okay.
And so Water Ice 2 is at an incline. You can use tools, but like you might only use one tool. You might have one mountaineering axe. You swing into it, and then you have it with both hands. You walk your feet up, stand, get your feet set, reach up, swing the next time, walk your feet up. It's like a calf burner. You like on your toes, and the rest of your feet are just in the air,
scorched,
burning. Yeah, it's awful. But WI3 now becomes more vertical. It might have sections of vertical ice, but then it rounds out, and vertical ice and rounds out. It might be like that. So WI3 is where like technical ice climbing really starts.
Okay.
WI4 is vertical ice,
okay,
or just slightly less than vertical, like 70 or 80 degrees. And that might only run for like 50, 60 feet. And then you might have some WI3 stuff going on.
Sure.
And then it's broken up that way. WI5 ice is just dead straight.
Okay.
It could be overhanging, or it could be slightly less than overhanging, but really thin.
Okay.
So it just makes it so like WI4 has like these stretches of strenuous activity, and then it rounds out. WI5 is on you the whole time.
Right,
so
right.
like there's no real spot to
similar
rest.
to is it similar to like the grades with like rock climbing?
It is. It's trying to be. It's kind of like grades of angle and grades of condition.
Sure.
Is more so. So like, it's like kind of a broken system. Now, like you climbing a WI5 that's fresh, and you have to swing every time, and each placement is your own placement, like a virgin stick.
Yeah.
With an ice tool. That will be harder than if someone climbed it before you and you literally just hook your tool in the placements of the last person. Right. So ice climbing is like, I think grades in ice climbing are stupid. I think they're dumb. Yeah. But, I mean, they're good reference points, like, because you have to know not to put yourself in a terrible situation. Sure. Right. Like first and foremost. Okay. WI6 is like WI5, but placing protection is harder.
Okay.
Or it might be more vertical.
Protection, as in like
ice screws.
Right.
Yep. So I didn't bring any ice screws. Sorry guys, I have like way too many of those things. I didn't even bring one. Yeah. I could show you, but look it up. Google that.
We'll superimpose it on.
Yeah.
We'll Google it. Yeah.
We'll put it right here. Yeah. But so ice screws, you just literally screw into the ice. It forms a core. We can get into a lot of it. But
sure.
Those are basically the grades of ice climbing. Okay. Now, the thing that lots of people think is they really want ice climbing to be much more mountain. Mm-hmm. So the way that it went was people started climbing up mountains, and it was alpine climbing. They'd climb up the top, or mountaineering. You're at the top and you're like, oh, this is amazing. Like, we got to the top. Well, they're like, well, those mountains, those are harder. We can't get up those just by walking at it.
Right.
So we need these tools to help us get over these bulges. We need these tools to like self-arrest if we start falling. And that was like the border of what alpinism and mountaineering is.
Sure.
Then people were like, oh, well, there wasn't snow or ice all the way to the top. So like there was a lot of rock section. How do we get better at this? And then people started rock climbing. And so rock climbing became its own thing.
Yeah.
And then people were like, oh, we're climbing all this stuff, but the ice is the hard part. Like now modern technology has hit a point where we can surpass what was done before. And then technical ice climbing began.
Sure.
And then technical ice climbing began. But like mixed climbing is like, oh man, the ice is great and the rock is great, but we got to do it at the same time.
Yeah.
And so that's where mixed climbing came in. And like, I would consider myself most proficient as a mixed climber, which is
interesting.
Using both.
Yeah. Now, if you're going to do a climb that has both, I'm assuming that means you have to bring twice as much stuff, or is there a lot of crossover between the tools?
Yeah, that's the game.
Yeah.
So it's the game we play. It's like, do you want to bring everything, or do you just want to make it one way? So, and it really depends on your route. So I loved the craft of pursuing these big mixed climbs and these
Right.
big ice climbs. Like ice climbing is phenomenal. Like it's just a surreal feeling of you just being in a place that like you see a photo of somebody and they're in like some bright green suit or something like that. And they're on the side of a mountain on this overhanging icicle. And you're like, that person shouldn't be there. Why are they there?
Yeah.
That's why I'm interested in it.
Yeah.
But at the same time, it's like this thing of it's more difficult or the movement is more difficult to go in and out of rock into ice.
Right.
And so like you training your brain having like all these different abilities in terms of both disciplines and making them cross over. Like that's my favorite.
Yeah.
It's like you might climb a big overhung rock cave that ends in like this ice curtain. So like where you'd be pumped out of your gourd and ready to fall, you have to be your most delicate on this curtain not to knock it down.
Yeah.
And then you start ice climbing and you start getting your headspace and your breath and everything back involved, your rhythm back. And then you climb ice until it tops and then it might turn into rock again. It's like, it's amazing. It's it's always changing. It's like, where's your headspace?
Yeah.
So yeah, I would say like the hard thing distinguishing what I pursue versus what most people in the mountains and ice climbing pursue is I'm pursuing the hardest ice climbs and the hardest mixed climbs and the hardest dry tooling is using your tools just on rock.
Okay.
I'm not as interested in it, but like I'm good at it for some reason.
Yeah.
Just my training style has allowed me to surpass and exceed like average ability in that sport.
It definitely seems like there's a lot of like crossover in that sense where like or rather cross training. So like if you since you consider yourself mixed climbing, a mixed climber, if you're going to do like training for this, like it would behoove you to practice doing rock climbing and then practice doing like ice climbing, you know?
Yeah, exactly. And so you have to get all of it. And like what I'd really like to do and what some of my friends are doing is they're putting like these practices into these big ski descents too. So they're adding another skill. And it's amazing. Like, dude, it's amazing what people are doing with it. But like, so for me, it's less about this idea of like summiting this big mountain. And it's more of like pursuing these things that are just insanely difficult.
Just challenging yourself and self-imposed hardship. You know?
It's so fun. And it's like, it's great. And it's gotten funny. Like, let's see if the skier closet has anything. We don't have it. Oh man, we're gonna have to get some ice climbing stuff. But so like a mountaineering boot is like a big stiff boot and it's heavy, it's clunky. The type of climbing and mixed climbing that I'm doing tends to use this kind of a boot. And this is considered a comp boot. They were designed for competition. It's kind of everything stripped away. There's a carbon fiber sole in the bottom. There's the crampon is only at the front. Your feet would get really cold. But like I'm pursuing things that are like at that level that you're kind of like taking minimal gear.
Right.
And this is the most effective piece. And like to me, going from a traditional ice climbing or mixed climbing crampon on a boot, having a directly mounted crampon on a comp boot, like this is the difference for people rock climbing. For all of you that rock climb, it's the difference from like climbing in your approach shoes versus climbing in a rock shoe. It's like a huge difference. And like, I'm gonna have to take you out sometime so you can see what the difference is.
Definitely, man. That'd be dope.
It's awesome. And so I'm pursuing things that I'm trying to like see what that next level is. And that's really what it is. So like if it's glaciers, it's glaciers. If it's like road cut things that are like essentially like you drive up and like you barely hike even a little bit and there's like this amazing thing, I'm excited. If there's like I just want to
just a challenge.
Just want to cut feet and look strong, you know what I mean? Like that's all I really want. But it's crazy, like as you start challenging yourself and pushing these boundaries, it's not like rock climbing. So the idea with rock climbing is like sport climbing is this amazing thing that if you take these big falls, it's like part of your growth, right? Like you might go sport climbing, fall in a bowl. You might take like a 50-foot fall one day, right? Like it's like absurd falls that people are taking, like because they're overhung, they just fall into space and like it's amazing. You can't take that mindset to this sport.
Right. I was actually going to ask because, like, I guess if you, as a simple example, if you're going to climb up, like you kind of, I'm going to butcher the terminology.
Yeah, you're
but
good.
You drill
You're
a
good.
hole, you put the like the clamp in or whatever, and then you climb up another 10 feet and you fall. That's 10 feet from where the thing was drilled, and then 10 feet down, and then like depending on the flexibility of the rope, that's another 5. But in ice, like that could potentially break the ice, right?
Totally.
Yeah.
And so it's like the big joke is like with ice climbing, first rule of ice climbing is do not fall. Yeah, it's a pretty good rule. We can all agree. Yeah, do not fall. Yeah. Second rule, it's like as important as rule number 1, and like it's like you have to keep it, and really that second rule is do not fall. Yeah, and like the third rule, you get the drift.
Yeah.
Do not fall. So
it's pretty easy.
Like it's pretty easy to understand. With ice climbing, you do not fall. And so the beautiful thing about it is you learn how to top rope and get your laps in, and like yada yada yada. You can follow like all these training programs that you find online that are basically like, you need to climb 200 pitches of this grade before you even think about leading. And it's like you're like, whoa, this is intense. Yeah. It's like, whoa. But yeah, I mean, and like we could get into how I do disagree with it, and like I challenge it. But I also think the average person should have that as a consideration.
Right.
Because you putting yourself in a situation that you're not ready for and you take a fall, there are way too many elements of risk that you've stacked on top of each other that could end in catastrophe. Right. So something I was really fortunate about is I had phenomenal mentors in this ice climbing world. And because of them, like I was able to assess what I'm doing, assessing risk, assessing the place I'm in, assessing the ice, assessing everything going on about it. And everything I'm doing is like, you could be like, that's super dangerous. Why are you doing it? And it's like, yeah, like you have a point. Like it's very dangerous. Why am I doing this? And you're like, okay, but you just had an interview with Adam Westfall, and he's a downhill skateboarder. And people are like, Adam, like you've gone 70 miles an hour down a hill and on a skateboard. Yeah. And you're like, yeah, I have. And you're like, but here's the thing. It's just like ice climbing. You don't start at 70 miles an hour.
Yeah, of course. Yeah.
Right. And so like, that's where a lot of people get in trouble. They try to progress through grades like rock climbing. They're not ready for it. They didn't have the proper time to assess the routes, assess their ability, put themselves in positions, learn how to down climb. This is one of the big things I teach. And yeah, it's like, it's intense. Yeah. So when you really learn how to do this stuff, it becomes a beautiful display and a mastery. You look, oh man, it's beautiful. I love ice climbing. It's just so beautiful. But you don't start at the top. Right. But the easiest way to learn how to ice climb, which is the craziest, is top roping. That's where the rope is at the top. If you fall, it's a minimal fall. Like the rope is already taut, so you shouldn't actually fall anywhere except for rope stretch. Now, in my opinion, the best way to learn how to ice climb is you just put people on the hardest ice on top rope. If you start in WI3, you learn how to swing a couple sticks, and you learn how to mantle and top out on a bulge. And then you swing a couple sticks, learn how to mantle, top out on a bulge. It teaches a good lesson. But like you really don't learn the rhythm of ice climbing and the assessment and how to see if you're too tired, how to see if your sticks are good until you give yourself a long enough plane to climb on, right? And so learning, and this is why another like plug-in for the Ouray Ice Park down in Colorado. It's the biggest ice park in the world.
Yeah. Is that so? That's is that what's your relationship to that?
Dude,
like, how did that start?
I mean the ice park started with Jeff Lowe.
Okay.
Back in, oh man, they're gonna be so in trouble. It started in. We're gonna add a date on that. It was like in the 80s or early 90s, and basically, I don't know. Yeah. I know this. It's just my brain is blanking.
Yeah.
But actually, Jeff Lowe started he didn't even start the ice park. He started the ice climbing festival that is there. And but the ice park was a bunch of ice climbers. They were going in there punching holes in the there's a water line that runs the length of this canyon at the top, and they're just punching holes in it and like letting the water trickle down the sides, and like they had their own ice that was consistent.
Yeah.
It's crazy. And it was like they got in trouble, all this stuff, and then eventually it just became an ice park. And now it's like 2 miles long of ice climbing. And they have ice farmers there. So they're like literally farming the ice, making sure all these climbs are accessible to everybody, making sure like if they get bashed out, they get fed back at night, they get refilled in, and they're new the next day. It's great.
Yeah.
Like it's a wonderful playground, one of the best resources ever for this sport. And it's, you talk to anybody in the US that's climbed there, it's truly a special place. But the Ouray Ice Park, check it out. If you ever need to do something in the winter, go to the Ouray Ice Park. But what's great about it is almost everything is difficult. It is a difficult area to climb.
Yeah.
But like, I personally believe that the Ouray Ice Park is phenomenal as a top rope area.
Mm-hmm.
You throw a top rope on the top, climb out of it, lower back down, climb up another one, climb back down. Like you just keep going, and it's all on you. It's difficult. It's chandelier. The ice forms a little quicker than most, so it doesn't feel quite like natural ice.
Right.
It's interesting, just in the way that is necessary to make it farm.
Sure.
But it's like beautiful. You climb this super steep ice over and over and over again. You learn how to become a phenomenal ice climber there. Now, I think that's the best way to learn.
Yeah.
Don't start as the old way of like top roping WI 2 or 3 and then top roping WI 4 and then go into 5. Just freaking, if it's accessible, jump right in. Top rope 5.
Yeah.
Right off the start. 4 is great too. I mean, it's just shorter.
Right.
So like 4 is phenomenal.
Yeah.
So like 3 can be great. It's just like you break the rhythm that is ice climbing.
Right.
And
so this place, if I might be wrong, but this is like one of the only places to do it, right?
Totally.
So
but we have 2 in Colorado. We have Lake City on the other side of the mountains.
Oh, cool.
Yeah. So like Engineering Pass is this famous 4x4 road that connects Ouray to Lake City.
Oh, nice.
In the winter, it kind of sucks. You got to drive all the way around. but the Lake City Ice Park is one of the best kept secrets of Colorado. And I know I'm blowing it for a lot of people that go there. I'm sorry, but people should go to Lake City, support that town. Support it, seriously.
Yeah.
But Lake City is right there, and they just doubled their size last winter.
Cool.
Or 2 winters ago, one or the other. But anyways, newly, it is double the size of what it was. And it is wonderful.
That's awesome.
And but yeah, like we have 2 of, I think we have the only ice parks in the US.
Yeah, that's crazy.
And they're both in Colorado.
So that actually leads to my next question, which is in general, in your sport, like the way to kind of like stake your claim as being like the best, quote unquote, is you can either do first ascents, which we can get into later, or you can do competitions.
Yeah.
So because this is one of the only or main places to train, is this something that you find a lot of your competition? Because you do both, right? And from the competition standpoint, like I'm assuming you train here, or do you do other like how do you go about from a competitive mindset? Like how do you go about training, and how do these kinds of competitions work?
Yeah, totally. So if we want to, like you nailed it. Like the 2 ways of like figuring out the best of the best is like usually marking what people's first ascents are, or repeating ascents. Like there might be a rare climb that like has never been repeated for like 30 years or something, and you got it.
Yeah.
So it's like pretty cool in that way. Now competition is the other way. So like Jeff Lowe establishing the Ouray Ice Climbing Festival, he also established the Ouray Ice Park Elite Climbing Competition.
Okay.
And when he was doing that, he was inviting people from all over the world, all the best from every part of the world, to come compete at this venue.
Nice.
And when it started, it was crazy. It was like they would bolt a new line and form a new line in the Ouray Ice Park. And they were just like, you got like an hour, go. Like figure it out who can get to the top first or the fastest. And it eventually became like, it changed. And then over the years, it became like they maybe ran out of real estate. Then they started adding like logs that went across the across the canyon, and so like you'd climb up rock, and then you'd be like overhanging, swinging into these logs, and then you'd get onto the other side and like onto the bridge. It was nuts. It was like
That's crazy.
It was pretty cool. And like then in the early 2000s, the ice climbing World Cup like took new flight, I would say. So the Ice Climbing World Cup is run by the UIAA. And
what does that stand for?
Oh man, please
Putting you
don't
on
put
the
me
spot.
We will. It is
Googling that
called
one.
the. But they have the Ouray, or they have the UIAA running World Cups.
Okay.
In 2001, we went from leashed tools, so you can look that up too. Leashed tools where your hand was like in a loop connected to the tool, so you like never actually let go.
Okay.
But it led to all these different things. Complexities essentially made the sport have this crazy ceiling that couldn't get any better.
Yeah, sure.
Then people were like, whoa, what if we put like a real handle on this thing, and we can hang on to it, and then like we can switch hands on it. We can like swing and leave it and let go and then place our ice screw. But it was before you had to like unhook, get out of the thing, place your ice screw, then put it back on, like loop it through, like and then it was awful. Like it was pretty dangerous the way it was going.
Yeah.
And then leashless tools started happening in 2001 and changed the sport.
Yeah.
So the World Cup started happening. They had these like ice climbing places in like Austria, Italy, all through the Alps, like Korea. I don't know when Korea came into it, but Russia, and it was insane. Like Slovenia. And when they had these competitions, they were like these big overhanging frozen things, and you would essentially like climb through and swing your axes into these like spray iced things. Like they kind of used like a snowmaker and blew it at these structures.
Huh.
It was cool.
Yeah,
it was like, dude, I want to see that again. Please make these competitions happen. Like I would love to see it.
Yeah.
But now the issue is when sun's baking it, when more than 2 people are climbing on it, they're ripping out all these holds.
Right.
And stuff. So the game was changing throughout a competition. Like if you went first, you were screwed. You were climbing the hardest version of the route that day.
Yeah.
Right. So now it became this thing where they kind of brought it more mixed. Now
more of like a level playing field.
So they started making these artificial structures with holds, like rock climbing holds, because it's more consistent for the competitors.
Right.
And then they started coming out with crazy movements, and like it was like insane how it grew the sport. And so now Ouray's competition has like a wall at the top, so you climb this like ice into a rock route called Mighty Aphrodite, into ice, and then up this like competition tower.
Oh man.
And so it's like it's beautiful. It's like it's everything in one. It's really fun.
Yeah. That's cool.
It's one of my favorite competitions. But like it's what I love about the competitions is when they changed it more artificially, they made it more of a level playing field because it has less change.
Sure.
Now, it's crazy. I'm actually like part of a few people who believe that we actually, with these ice climbing competitions, we do not need ice. Like, I truly believe that. And I challenge the UIAA, I challenge all of these other bigger places or bigger communities to rethink that.
Yeah.
And like the ice part is limiting. It's like, this is why the sport isn't growing, is like, it's harder to find places in the cold to do it. And then you take like countries like Africa, like you're not going to see an ice climbing team from Africa. There's no ice.
Right.
South America, like Australia, like you've taken like half of the world out of this sport,
right?
Which is crazy. So like, I personally think they should be considered dry tooling. That's using your tools on non-ice.
Okay. You're saying yeah, right.
So then it makes the playing field level, makes it more inclusive for the rest of the world. It's really fun climbing on tools. It is different than rock climbing.
Right.
The craft is insane, like the movements, it's really fun. So these ice climbing competitions, which are now more dry tooling than they are ice climbing, are amazing at seeing, like, what it finds is what athletes can make a decision the fastest, yet climbing at this hard level.
Yeah, yeah. Like people come out of the woodwork and
Yeah.
like I guess in like what you're saying, like areas you'd never expect, and you just
Yep.
see like this. Now, I guess we should put it in perspective. It's still a relatively small niche of people, right?
It's super small. So
Yeah.
climbing doesn't have many people in it.
Right, right.
And then ice climbing has way less people in it.
Yeah, yeah.
And then dry tooling and mixed climbing, oh my gosh, you're talking like we got like a couple dozen of us. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
Like
yeah.
it's insane. And it's really cool. But like the thing is, I think it would grow as a sport, but it's inaccessible right now.
Right, sure.
Right? Like the idea that there are so few places to do this. There aren't many mentors. People are just using mixed climbing as a means to get up a mountain or a means to get to ice.
Right.
And I believe that it's its own thing entirely. It's like mixed climbing is like this, like all encompassing, like that's the reward is like mixed climbing
It
is
doesn't matter what it is.
doesn't
you can climb
matter.
it. Yeah,
Oh,
yeah.
I love it, man.
Yeah, yeah,
it's
yeah.
so fun. Climbing on tools, rock, you're switching back and forth.
Yeah, yeah.
Like I'll put my tools over my shoulder, climb with my hands, like put my hand in a crack, put a tool on, then reach up and grab some with my hand, put my tool back on, match hands, grab it with this. It's like the mastery.
Yeah,
The
yeah.
mastery. Like, I'm sorry if I didn't hear that much. I got excited.
No, you
But yeah, the it's really fun. It's like it's beautiful. Now, these competitions, they're measuring people who can use their tools to the best advantage
Yeah, yeah.
to get it done. Now, because of that and the leveling the playing field in these artificial ways, it's become not ice climbing,
Yeah.
which is crazy. But like all of these people, it's like it kind of like berates a little bit. You'll get ice climbers that are like, oh, that guy's just competes. He just competes. Then you like some competitors actually don't ice climb.
Yeah. Oh, wow.
Wrap your mind around that.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
like now it makes the ice climbing and the competition climbers like have an even bigger gap, right?
Yeah,
like, and so it's like this really weird thing that's like the respect and the understanding of each discipline becomes like less and less as you go into it. Like you might meet someone who can climb like the hardest dry tooling routes in the world, but like maybe only leads ice like 3 times a year.
Yeah.
And it's like, what? Like they don't even know how to assess these situations.
Yeah.
They've never wrapped off a V thread or an A thread. You can look those up too, V threads and A threads. But yeah, it's like it's insane. It's like it's totally become its own niche, and it's beautiful.
Do you think it's a bit of a catch-22 in the sense where in an effort to make it more accessible to these places that otherwise wouldn't have, and because it is becoming less of ice climbing but more of like a standardized
as
procedure.
a competition, yeah.
But do you think that has actually allowed like do you find there's a lot of people who claim themselves to be like professional ice climbers and they get inspired then to go out in the wild and do what everyone thinks as like the kosher, like the real
deal.
Yeah.
So now we're getting to first ascents, the question you asked a bit ago. So first ascent climbing, what that is having the vision and being able to go and do it.
Yeah.
Now, like there are different discrepancies. Like some people like the almighty, the holy grail is finding this thing that you do ground up and you do it on site. That means you've never rappelled down it. You've never seen it before.
Yeah.
You walk up to it and you do it and you just finish it.
Yeah.
And you get off it safely. That's the next thing. But being a first ascensionist, you don't know what's coming. Once you're the second, once you're the third, once you're the fourth, you can be like referencing somebody, or you know someone even did it.
Right.
And now you know it's possible.
Right.
So it's like it's totally different. So these first ascents are like highly coveted.
Right.
And what's crazy is we do have this disparity in the competition world of people that are just competing and they're not climbing ice, which I don't think is a problem. Let them do what they want.
Yeah. Gives more exposure to the sport.
More exposure. Yeah. And like, that's like, quite honestly, it's safer. You go to a competition, you have all your draws up. You don't even have to figure out how you're going to place protection. You get to climb as hard as you want and fall.
Yeah.
And you're not hitting stuff.
Right.
Not ripping stuff out. It's amazing. It's like no avalanche is going to hit you.
And then you can focus on being competitive.
You can focus on the true act of climbing on tools.
Right.
It distills it to its most difficult evolution of the sport. And now, whereas first ascents are like, putting up these things that are absolutely incredible. Like, I put up this first ascent on the lower east face of Long's Peak. back in 2018 with Wes Fowler. And we actually weren't even going up to do it. We were going up to do some other objectives that were in there. And we're like, oh my God, this ice flow is in. This has never come in. I tried it the year before. And we went up and it was in, but we were there too late. Like, right. My partner thinks that we were up there just like getting up there too late. Like all this stuff, drama happens. We could get in a long story. Should we do it?
Yeah.
Should we talk about it?
Let's do it, man.
So we got to this climb. The ice was not in good condition. It was there. It was on the wall.
Yeah.
I can tell you that. It was up on the wall. And my partner, he was adamant. He was like, bro, this wall needs a first ascent. And I was like, dude, I understand. But the condition of this ice is not good.
Yeah. And
he was like, dude, come on. Like, I heard you were this ice climber. Like, let's go. Like, I'm giving you your shot.
Yeah.
And I was like, I'm not climbing. Like, this is not safe. Like, water's running behind it.
Yeah.
It's less than an inch thick. We're not going to find protection until it looks like that overlap in the rock up there. And then the sun is hit. Like, what? This whole thing is going to rip off the wall. Right? Like, this is not a good place to be right now. And right. Like, push comes to shove. He ends up being like, well, you got to belay me up this thing. I'm leading it now. I have this experience. I'm going to do it. And I was like, man, we should not be on this thing. Yeah. And so we argued for a bunch. He was like, we're doing it. And I was like, all right, you can do this under one condition. He was like, what? What's your condition? I said, if I ever feel uncomfortable belaying you, like if I feel like this is going to rip, you have to come down. Like whatever your last piece is, you're going to wrap off it. He's like, okay, deal. He goes up 30 feet, places his first piece. I was like, all right, come down. And I was like, fuck, we got to get out of here.
Yeah,
Sorry.
yeah. That's fine.
Fudge, we got to get out of here. Yeah, man. But yeah, so we got down, pulled the rope, mumbling like frustration, right? Like a first ascent on this wall is like the most coveted wall. Like we have in Boulder, Colorado, and like Colorado's Front Range, we have such a competitive group of human beings that are phenomenal athletes. Sure, and like everyone's going for these rare first ascents that are like legendary, and he's frustrated. And like I understand his frustration. I really do. But within 2 minutes of us pulling the rope and moving to the side, the entire freaking wall came down. Like what? We have a photo of us standing there like off to the side with our bags. Like I think I'm just like pissed. Like you can just see my face. But like there's like a cloud of ice, like literally tons of ice landed where we were just standing.
Oh my God.
And I was like, all right, see, that's why we didn't do that.
Yeah.
So anyways, forward a year, I'm up there and now the ice is in. Yeah. I'm like, dude, I'm with a different partner this time. And
I was going to say the other partner's probably like, no, I'm not doing it, man. You know, like,
well, no, he wanted it, man. And like, it actually like, it's like one of those things, like to this day, like we haven't spoken much. Like there's like a feeling of betrayal of me going for this first ascent because like I didn't plan on it, but this climb has been essentially like sought after for 30 years and it didn't come in. And so we were like, dude, it's in now. We don't have time to like, you know, like call a friend and be like, yo, you getting up here to do this thing? Like we just didn't have that luxury. Right. So we're like, we got to do this. Like it's in front of us.
Yeah.
We got to do it. And so we climbed it and it was like, oh, it's mind blowing, dude. Like one of the best climbs of my life. Like,
that's awesome.
And it's not even because it was my first ascent. It was like, it was everything. It was like you rock climb, you're like hand jamming, you're placing rock climbing gear, then you're climbing into ice, and then you're placing gear again, and then you like go up. And then we found out like there was a summer route that must go up this because there was a bolted anchor at the top. We're like, no way. We clipped the bolted anchor, play my person up to me, and then we started up the next pitch.
Nice.
And the next pitch was 40 or 35 meters of ice.
Oh my God.
It was beautiful.
Yeah,
it's like that was like we're like looking at it and I'm like, oh, this is awesome. And like and like so you step out on this ledge and I'll send you the link so you can there's a Red Bull actually did a video on it. So
really?
I'll make sure that you can post that link.
Yeah, for sure, man.
But you stepped out on this like big undercling thing, and I placed rock gear. Rock gear is like amazing with mixed climbing. You're like, okay, this has a better chance of staying in the wall than an ice screw. So I placed these two pieces, and then it started thin, like we're talking like less than a centimeter thick. Right. And it was just like these like planes of like so thin, but then these like bubbles. And so like you had these bubbles that were like this thick, but the ice throughout it was like this thick. Think like bubble wrap was up the wall, right? And I was like, this is like incredible. And so I'm like hooking on these bubbles and like pulling weight, and I'd like rip one off and be like, oh, this one, and tap, tap, tap. Oh, that one's good. But like you can't swing too far. Your pick hits the rock.
Right.
Yeah. And so it was like climbing, and I just placed my two rock pieces right next to me. And then I don't think I got my next piece for like 50 feet or something like that. So I'm looking at like over 100-foot fall on these two rock pieces. And like, but I was just in this rhythm, and I'm just like tap, tap, boop, boop. And then like I placed like a ice screw. My shortest ice screw was a 9-centimeter screw, and I placed it. And like, that's a stubby. That's like, people don't normally even carry stubbies. They think it's crazy. Like it's too small. And I got it about like 3 threads of the 9 threads in. And then I girth hitch slung it. You'll see what I mean in the video. But and kept going and climbed at the top, and oh man, like it was just like beautiful climbing. Cool, it was like the mastery of being in this position on something that fell down the year before. But like this year it's adhered to the wall. It's like it's the first climb of the year because I did it like October 4th.
Okay.
And so like there was no warm up. It was like the hardest thing right here now, testing me. But like all my competition training, all my time being on tools in the summer allowed me to I never even got pumped out. And I led this thing and I climbed it. And I think the lead took like an hour and a half.
Wow.
Which is a long time. And so I'm hanging on tools on almost it's not quite perfectly vertical. It's like in a little bit. So even though the ice was in a hard condition, it wasn't necessarily a terribly difficult route other than like reading and protecting. So like, that's where it's just like a hard to protect WI like 5. It wasn't quite WI 6. We can get on that topic at another time, but you just like climb up this thing that was just like on you the whole time, and then placed an anchor, brought my climber up, and like it was beautiful. It was like a wonderful day. And luckily like we were trying to just link up all these like easier climbs in the area, and we we're actually going to go for a much bigger route, and we ended up just climbing that and being like, dude, we're just calling it. That was it. We're done. We did the thing. And so it was really special. And one of our friends, he was up there. He was going to film us doing everything up there. Our goal was to just climb everything that was in. And do a little film on it. And we ended up just making a film on this one climb. And because of it falling down the year before and us climbing it the next year, we called it Conditional Love. So it's a beautiful route. Dude, it's like, I can't say enough good things about it, but video will definitely show it a little bit. And it's like that classic Red Bull over dramatization of shit, and you're like, it's so funny. But I would like to make a better video of it because it deserves a much better video than that one. But Red Bull featured it, and they featured it actually as like highlights of that year. Like it was in their highlight reel of things that they did that year. So it was like really cool. But like that's the coveted thing is doing this amazing thing and sharing it with the world. Right. Like, I don't really care if people really like give me props for things. I just like being able to share that and being like, dude, this is open. Go for it. Like
it's also interesting. Like when you were saying before how, because the competition's the wrong word because we're talking about first ascents, but like the sheer number of high caliber climbers in Colorado, like it is hard to find those kinds of things. Whereas like, if you were to go to Antarctica, I'm sure you could find a spot.
You're gonna find some things,
So it's pretty cool how like you kind of staked your flag in a pretty crowded like area of the country where like there's been so many people doing first ascents in different places that like you found the spot that has kind of like been untapped.
And like it was crazy. It was like the second year I moved here. So it was like kind of like frustrating to a lot of the local community of like, who's that freaking new guy that just like came in? But like, I got a big smile on my face. You can't be mad at me.
Yeah.
Like, I was amazing. Like, go climb it. And it was like kind of this crazy thing of like, wow, like now we're gonna be in the guidebook of like this historically difficult wall.
Yeah.
And like everyone that's in it, and like Kevin Cooper is like one of the locals up here that like he's been waiting for that thing to come in for like 30 years.
Yeah.
And it just came in that day. And like he ended up, it was beautiful because like, I mean, he's frustrated that like he was part of most of the major first ascents on that wall.
Okay.
Like, oh, actually in Rocky, like he was the guy for Rocky forever. And he's still like, is the guy for Rocky. And like, and it was crazy. It was like, that might've been the first ascent that wasn't Kevin Cooper in like 10 years.
That's crazy.
It was insane.
Yeah.
And like, it was beautiful because one day I went up to do it again, and I ended up climbing it 3 times that year. And that third time I went up to climb it, Kevin was on it and he climbed it and he gave me props for it.
Yeah.
Actually, 2 days later after we did the first ascent of that, Kevin put up another first ascent to the right of it.
Oh man.
That was like this crazy direct start to another climb. So like Kevin got another first ascent in that same winter, but like it was amazing to see like that. I wonder if he would have even tried that first ascent if we didn't do ours. Like it was like this cool thing that like it lit a fire
like
under him.
Symbiosis between you guys, you know? Yeah.
It was pretty cool. And like he and Kelly Cortez put up this amazing new route that, you know what, like they might not have even tried if this route didn't go in. And so like they put that thing up and like amazing. It's amazing, really. That's is. So cool, and so it's cool to see that duality, that pressure, that like persistence, that like almost competition in the outdoor world too, of like, what can you do? Can you keep, it's like, how hard can you climb while keeping your nerves down?
Yeah.
While still moving forward.
Yeah.
It's like, it's a pretty cool thing.
So that's another interesting aspect I find about what, in general, climbing, but particularly what you do is like being able to focus in the heat of the moment and compartmentalize all of these different things. Like you just said, for the one, I quote unquote failed attempt when the ice fell, like you had to assess that. Like there's such a mental acuity where you have to be so sharp in your decision making, but it's so like, I know in the beginning we were saying it's not instantaneous, but I imagine there's a lot of like taking it all in, but also being like so sharp at your mental game. That like that's I imagine that's just like a big part. Like how do you compartmentalize everything like in the heat of the moment when you're climbing?
This actually brings us to a really cool topic too, of the difference with competition climbing mindset and the mindset of first ascents.
Yeah, sure.
And the big mountain ascents. And like what that does is like when we're in our big mountain ascents, we're usually putting ourselves in a place that, like rule number 1 with ice climbing, do not fall. Right? So like we're trying to put ourselves in these positions, but managing the risk the whole time. So your prefrontal lobe is just going off right now. You're like, it's insane. It's like, is this good? Is it not good? Is that spot better? Is this? And like, you just start assessing everything. You're in this thing of like this meditative state of just like what's going on. And you're like in it and you're like listening to the sound of the ice to make sure it's not like you might hear one sound and you're like, that broke. Right. And you're like listening to subtleties and like it's like your breath and everything is like taking consideration, and you're like, it's really cool. And like, but you're assessing everything, like every kick you take, every swing you take, every move you make. I'll be watching you. But like you start going off and like you're climbing, but everything is assessed.
Sure.
Like everything. Where am I gonna go? Oh, I might have to go here now. Like, so you're like making decision as you go. Now it's cool because like outdoor climbing, like you don't really have a time limit, but the faster you move, the safer you are.
Right. Because it's just melting, I guess.
Melting. Yeah. And like, especially with areas like Rocky, like storms come in at 1:00. So you have to be off the mountain by 1.
Oh yeah.
So like, actually the rule is like you're off by 1 or noon.
Yeah.
So like, you got to get up there early, smash, grab, go.
Right.
Like, so it's crazy. Like the mentality is like, you're going to move as fast as you can assess where you are.
Right.
Is like the idea with outdoor climbing. It's like, can you keep your nerves down? Can you do this? Like, what is it? Now, competition climbing is a really fun aspect that I love about it because it kind of takes away the risk assessment.
Mm-hmm.
You are actually turning your prefrontal lobe off and you're just executing.
Yeah.
If you have time to think, you fall.
Yeah.
It's like insane. Like the competitions are set up in a way that like it might be 100-foot wall, but you only have 4 minutes to climb it.
Yeah.
Right. And so like you're making decisions as fast as you can, but you don't have time to make decisions. So you're just you're like,
it's like instinctual.
It's instinctual.
Yeah.
Yeah. You have to be able to move without thinking.
And you also got to like turn your sense of danger off too.
Yeah.
Because I mean, like what you were just saying about like in the wild, like you do very, vividly take those into consideration.
Yeah.
But with competition climbing, it's like, all right, just we know what we're doing. Just go.
Just go. Yeah. You've trained for this. Move. Go. Boom.
Yeah.
Like that's all you got.
Yeah. So that's fascinating, man. So what does the future hold for Tyler Kempney?
Yeah. So this year, it's like rough. I got to make a decision really fast. Actually.
Yeah. You're on.
But, real quick. No, but I've got these 2 really cool tracks going. So like, I'm going to be. My wife is Filipino, Lois Ann, and she's Filipino. I've never been to the Philippines, so I'm actually going to be trying to go to the Philippines all of December, which kind of takes away my early season. But like, it's fine. Like, I can't wait to go to the Philippines.
Yeah.
And I'm excited because I'm now plugged in. One of the women that I coached last year, her dad is like a legend in the Filipino ice climbing realm. So like I'm gonna try to talk to her to see if I can meet her dad and like go out and like at least him plug me into some people and like meet the community out there. And so I'm excited and I can't wait. But so that's where I'll be all December, and then going straight from the Philippines to the first World Cup in Korea.
Okay.
And so I'll be in Cheongsong, Korea, competing in the World Cup there.
Sweet.
And then it's like, do I fly back to the US? Because that next weekend is Ouray's Ice Festival. And like the beautiful thing about Ouray's Ice Fest is like I could go teach clinics and get like all this community moving forward and like helping it grow. And like, I love teaching clinics. Like, dude, it's my favorite.
Yeah.
And so yeah, I mean, I could go teach a bunch of clinics, and Logan Tyler from Base Camp Ouray, like he is like these clinics that I can take. Like he called me this morning. He's like, dude, we want you here. Like, do these clinics. And I was like, dude, I want to say yes so bad.
Yeah.
But there's only 3 World Cups this year. And like, so like the other part of me is like more personal, more like selfish. I could be doing the other 2 World Cups. One's in Champagny, France, and one's in Saas-Fee, Switzerland.
Okay.
And so like the World Cup series could be fully done by the end of January, and I could be home and then just like rest for a couple weeks and then climb all February through March for the rest of the ice.
Nice.
Like that sounds amazing.
Yeah.
Going to 3 or 4 amazing countries in 2 months, like Philippines, Korea, Switzerland, and France. Or I could just do 1 World Cup, come back early, climb, do everything in Ouray, and then just start my personalized climbing season early. And like not even worry about the 2 World Cups and like save a lot of money. And make money at the same time. And so it's like I got 2 really big, amazing options in front of me. Like I shouldn't be sweating it, but I got people counting on me. Like if I do, I have to make a decision fast, because if I don't do the other 2 World Cups, then we got people that will take my spot. But if I can fill my clinics
sure,
for Ouray and like make sure that I'm in a spot that I want to get these clinics that I can have as much impact on people as possible.
Yeah, of course.
So the sooner I commit, the better clinics I can get. So those are 2 things for me. But dude, last year, chasing the high of my season that I had, like that I would love to do the 3 World Cups. See what I can do this year.
Well, the fun part is by the time this episode's released, we'll know. So
sweet.
we'll
That'll
have like
awesome.
we'll put an update on the screen or something for you.
Totally.
Yeah, that's cool, man.
It'll be sweet.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, well, we wish you the best of luck for that. I want to ask a bit of a philosophical question.
Yeah, let's do it.
So, your hat says doubt is poison.
Yeah.
And from the moment you walked in the door, that had me thinking. And I'm like, that's a very powerful statement. So,
Yeah.
what does that mean?
So, all right, doubt is poison is really cool. This hat is actually, my wife made it.
Okay.
She's an artist, and she actually just quit her full-time job as a teacher.
Yeah.
Now she's a full-time freelance artist. And she drew this flask that had like bubbles in it and everything, and it was labeled doubt.
Oh, nice.
And she was like, she drew it as like a prompt for like an Inktober Instagram thing. And she was like, the prompt was doubt, and then poison, and then she drew a vial of poison, and it labeled it doubt.
Yeah.
And she did that a few years ago, and over the past couple of years, she's like really reflected on it, and like it's become like this staple in her in my life. And like now this idea is be prepared. Don't doubt. Like when you're in the moment, especially with these ice climbing things, like if you are now in a position of doubt, you have to start thinking about, how do I bail? How do I get out of this?
Leave your ego at the door kind of thing.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Check that.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? But like also really honor yourself. Like, I'm ready for this, right?
Yeah.
I'm ready for that next step. Doubt is the only thing that'll hold me back.
Yeah.
It's like you have this like duality within you, right? And like it's this beautiful thing of like the doubt that could keep you alive is also the doubt that could keep you from living.
Right.
Right.
It's crazy. It's crazy when you kind of boil it down to that. Like it's a very interesting take on it. You know?
Yeah.
And I guess this definitely shouldn't be a consideration when you're climbing, but like, you know, when people doubt you, like you can consider that to be poisonous.
Dude.
It could you know, fuel your passion, but doubt itself is kind of poison. And you're just like, well, watch me.
Totally. And it's like, and like, you know, the communities that you surround yourselves with might be instilling doubt.
Yeah.
So you might have to learn how to essentially like trim the tree.
Yeah.
Like cut the fruit that's bad.
Yeah.
Right? You got to learn how to like essentially like, I'm not saying get them out of your life, but like maybe there are aspects of your life that like it could be family, it could be friends, it could be coworkers that are putting this upon you, that are keeping you from hitting that next phase in your life.
Right.
Like achieving that pursuit of happiness, really, that we're looking for, right?
Yeah.
That you know, like I don't think that we can be perfect, but like pursuing perfection is the beauty.
Yeah.
Right. And so many people come to me and like will tell me like, oh, that hasn't been done before, you can't do it.
Yeah.
Right. Like, oh no, like, oh, you like, oh no, like this is, well, like the pros did this. Like,
or like when you moved and they're like, who's this new guy? Like,
right. Exactly. It's like this doubt. And it's like, if you can get away from it and like get the chatter out of your mind and bring it back to, I'm ready for this. I'm going to pursue it on my time.
Right.
And honor self, then go for it.
Right.
Right. Like if you get in the moment and you're like, hey, this is a bad decision, like just make sure that it's a decision that you can come out of.
Right.
Right. Like, so it's really
it's powerful,
like,
man.
Doubt is poison. Yeah. It's powerful.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It kind of reminds me of, there's, I think it's a Vince Lombardi quote. I could be wrong, but it's like perfection is unachievable, but in pursuit of perfection, you achieve excellence.
Yeah.
You know, and it's just really cool speaking to, you know, people of your caliber, where you just kind of, the one thing I've learned talking to all of these people is like, there's something that differentiates the good from the great, you know? And it's like, I really do think it comes down to just that mental fortitude and just kind of being willing to trade comfort for risk and like go get it and jump in the deep end, like you're saying.
Totally.
So it's,
yeah. But like, you know, it's one of those things too. So I'm actually reading a book right now. It's called Art of the Impossible.
Okay.
And the idea is understanding impossible in terms of a capital I or a lowercase I? Is it just impossible for you right now?
Huh.
Can you achieve your impossible? And so like that's essentially the same mindset I take into this and in all aspects of my life is like people might say, hey, this is impossible. So achieving the impossible is like this idea that someone might say, hey, like you can't, you'll never become a professional ice climber, or you can't make it as a professional ice climber.
Sure.
Or you can't, like only 3 people have climbed that hardest thing in the world. What do you think? You like?
Yeah.
Or,
it's like define like with the podcast as an example, like people, going in that like there's the number, it's like whatever, 80-90% of all podcasts fail.
Yep.
But it's like there's something in you that just like I want to try. I want to throw my hat in the ring, and I want to like
you gotta
at least try. It's better than standing on the sidelines and just waiting idly.
Yeah. Too many people say I could have.
Yeah.
Right. I could have done that. I could have pursued that.
Yeah.
But like
history doesn't remember what could.
History doesn't remember what could have happened. Exactly.
Yeah.
And it's like this idea of like I'm trying to boil down what I believe is whatever my goal is. I try to figure out what that impossible thing is, and then I try to play with it.
Yeah.
I'm like, is that impossible?
Yeah.
Can I make it possible? Like, what are the aspects that make it impossible?
Right.
Can I do this? And like, so it's this idea. This book is like crazy, but I definitely recommend everyone read it. I cannot remember for the life of me who wrote it, but he has several other amazing books. Like what he really focuses on is flow state.
Okay.
And so this idea of flow state of like being present, being in the moment. If you think you're too late, right?
Yeah,
like
right.
you've just blown it.
Right.
We are usually put in situations where we have the luxury to think, but maybe the idea of achieving an impossible is being able to just make the right decision without making a conscious decision.
Yeah. And the book is Impossible is
The Art
Nothing.
of the Impossible.
The Art of the Impossible. Okay.
Yep.
Yeah.
Like
I'm gonna add that one to my reading list.
It's awesome, man.
Hell
It's
yeah.
a great book.
Yeah. That's cool.
Go give it a shot. It's so fun. It's like, I don't know. I feel like in a way, because we're human beings, like us climbing with our hands feels a little weird. Like
you can just hack into it.
We're species of tools, using tools. This is what
Yeah.
separates us from like animals, right? Like, and so there's something very human about climbing on tools. That's like, it's brilliant.
Yeah.
It's brilliant. You should all try it. Like if you ever get the chance, go to Ouray Ice Park, go to whatever your local ice festival is, or whatever your closest one is if you don't live somewhere cold. But dude, it's a phenomenal thing. Like do it before the world is too hot to have ice. Like really, let's get on tools. Give it a shot. It's brilliant. It's brilliant.
Cool.
Yeah.
Well, Tyler Kempney, everyone. This is great, man. Thanks so much for coming on, dude.
Yeah,
this
anytime. Thank you.
Yeah. All right.
Yeah.
Thanks
for
everyone.
having me. Thanks for having me, guys.
All
Thanks
right.
for listening.
Take care.